And we are live. Here we are. Wow, that was exciting. That intro is great. Get you pumped, right? After the day I had, I almost flipped the table. I was so pumped from the intro. Chris might beat me to it. If Chris has pre-workout, he's totally gonna.
No, I wound up skipping the gym today. I just couldn't even get in the headspace.
He's gonna outman me. All right. Hey, welcome to episode 4 of the Phalanx. Today we have some awesome folks. We have Tiernan from ACI Comics. We have Jerry. Jerry, pronounce your last name for me so I don't butcher it.
It's Chatelain.
All right, Jerry Chatelain from E4 Comics. We have Dennis Valencia from Pharos Creative Studios, and we also have me from Pharos Creative Studios, and then we have the man himself, Chris Michaels from Homebrewed Comics. So I'm sorry, it's Michael. It's Michael. I keep adding an S. I expect to see but today's topic, fellas, is we're going to talk about how we unwind as creators. I know each one of us have our own stressors and way to deal with those, hopefully. And I think that's cool because I think folks out there might actually want to maybe see how us or maybe it's similar to them, or maybe how. Yeah, I would say us old guys, but that's just me, right? Okay. So, just me. But yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. And I think, I think each of us could learn from each other something about that anyway. So, but first, let's go around the room and give the room and give everyone an opportunity to say hello. And, if you got anything you want to promote, we'll usually do it at the end. But we can, you can definitely push it now too. I'm all for that. So I'm going to go Brady Bunch style, and I'm going to go around. So we're going to go with Chris from Homebrew.
All right. Well, Christopher Michael, creator of Homebrewed Comics and Crit. You said something I want to shout out. Is that what you said?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
So Crit 2 will, my digital copy I just uploaded to Amazon. It'll release on the 25th of this month. So next Wednesday, that'll be on Amazon. I still haven't figured out how to get them to put a physical copy on there without screwing it up. So that's going to be a little bit. And backer rewards, they're all getting shipped out this week. I got everything in. I've just got to shuffle through it. I'm going to do a live unboxing on Wednesday before my interview with Brett on Conduct. So come check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool. You got Brett coming in. That's awesome. For once, he's getting interviewed. That's great.
I thought it'd be nice to hear his side of the story, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we got Jack's in the comments and Natalie's in the comments. Oh, where the regulars are starting to pour in. All right. So after Chris, Tiernan, you're up.
My name is Tiernan O'Grady. I am the founder of ACI Comics and also the creator of Nuvor, Darkwell, and also Terrasite and a couple of others. But my updates is that we will not be having a Kickstarter until February or March because the artists are sick. Mo Lewis is sick, Sleek is sick, so we'll be pushing it to March and hopefully get physical copies as well. And so hope for that.
Yeah,
and also
March might be good for you, honestly. So
it is.
I think it's a good time.
Much, yeah, and then the 20th is when the Nuvor issue 1 competition ends, and then the Envoys one will start. So then, if you want art, to be put up on the issue, just send me it, and I'll put a credit towards you and everything from your Instagram, and then everything goes into it. Indeed.
I know I can speak for a lot of the guys here. We're really liking what you're doing right now. You are literally just on fire. Like, I don't know where it came from, but we're glad to see it. Like, you're just out there every day. You're just grinding, and that's what it's all about. So we're definitely noticing, and we definitely you're getting it, man. You're getting after it. Good job.
Thanks, man.
And of course, we got Dennis Swalventia. So
here we go. Is Jack on? Usually Jack's up with that.
Yeah, Jack's in
there.
Jack's on.
There he is.
Yeah, he's in there.
Jack.
Yeah, so just finished a big project with Jesse. I actually finished it yesterday. So finally, it's actually a good topic because this topic is exactly how as soon as I finished, how I'm starting to unwind from that. But what I'm looking forward to, the Convictor's coming out. Hopefully sooner than later, right, Jason? We are on track.
Yeah, we're on close to track as we can be right now. So
there you go. And basically going to start jumping into those change the game bundles and start knocking out those commissions. I want to get them done before Christmas. So that is my new priority. And to hit all those things, the project that I was working with Jesse took about 3 weeks. So if anything, I want to catch up. I didn't do anything for 3 weeks but that. So as soon as that was over, I want to start getting into the groove of what I typically do. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Good stuff. And then last but certainly not least, Jerry from E4 Comics.
What's up, guys? Yep, I'm Jerry from E4 Comics, the creator of E4 Comics and the comic book The Elements.
I just got mine. Ooh.
That's right. Currently, right now, issue 0 is out, digital and physical. It's all, you can get it all, link in my bio. Right now, I'm currently working on issue 1, which is about 90% done. We're also looking to drop a Kickstarter. I guess I'm going to have to talk with Tiernan about it because he's talking about February or March, and that's exactly what I was looking at too.
Yeah.
So, so we're going to have to discuss that. And Wednesday, I'm actually going to be on the Brett Show on Dispatch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you're going to be on his right after mine, because he said he's got one. Yep.
Because he's doing a video about group teams, creating like a group, and I guess how they interact. How do you create a team, and how do you make them different and everything? And one of the people dropped out last minute. So while we were discussing the Shock and Helios thing, he was like, "Hey, your comic book is about teams too, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Would you be willing to come on Wednesday?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I was going to ask you when can I get on for my comic book, but I'd be more than happy to do a team conversation, you know?" So that's how I ended up getting the spot on Wednesday.
No, hey, you know what? You got to take when you can get it, man. Like I said, I was able to get on Demon Phil's hell of a show for an interview only because someone backed out. Because if not, I wouldn't have been able to get on there during when we were doing the Kickstarter and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you just got to take it. Man, we got to take what we can get. But, yeah, it's everyone's February and March. Like, you know what I noticed about Kickstarter? I think a lot of guys here will say the same thing, is that it comes in clusters for indie comics. Like, indie comics seem to be like, well, we saw what was October was, I mean, that was smashed with indie comics. Like they flooded the Kickstarter. It just seems like certain, like, then, like just as I said, February, March, it seems like, and I may or may not have planned one for February myself. So, so we may have
to do a double or something.
Yeah, we're gonna I think we're at the knife fight or something.
Literally, I think the last 2 months I probably helped funded maybe 10, 15 comics.
Same. Yeah.
I tried my best to help out whoever I can, however I can. So there's a lot of comic books I'm waiting for in the mail. When I got Crit 1 and Crit 2, literally that night I didn't go to sleep. I literally read both issues. And I hit up Chris that morning, and I was like, "Yo, Chris, we got a big problem." And he's like, "Uh-oh." And I was like, "Yo, Chris, I'm not patient. Like, so how long am I waiting for Chris 3?" And he's like, "Dude, don't do that. Like, I thought something was like really wrong."
I uploaded all the backers, and then Mo Luzbin, the guy who did the cover, I sent it to him, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, here's at least a digital, because I'm giving everyone that worked on it, physical copies as well." And he emails me, he's like, "Oh, it's only 20 pages long." I'm like, "No, that thing's like 30 pages. What are you talking about?" I pulled the PDF up at Google Drive, didn't load the whole thing, so I'm talking to Nick from BMR at the same time, and he's saying, yeah, man, like, when are we gonna get the rest of the story? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So it gave me a heart attack. Like, what else can go wrong with this file? I had to like re-download the entire thing and re-upload it. It's huge. So it was just a panic.
What, they think you're ending it on a cliffhanger?
Well, it ended at the page right after the advertisement. So it looks like I have an ad, and then I have Obi saying, I'm going to give him the fist, and then it's just done.
Hey, well, you know what?
That's
People, I guess people are waiting. They're waiting for the fist.
I guess.
The whole fist.
That's one of my favorite pages because it really gives people a perspective of Reach and Obi. And recently somebody asked me how to describe the characters, and I described Reach. If you've ever seen the show Fringe, he is Walter from Fringe.
Yeah,
he has these moments
yeah.
absolute genius. And then he just becomes this really creepy old man. My kid loves the character too for some reason and drew it. I'm really proud of her. I showed this on Instagram. I didn't show the full thing, but she did that.
Oh, that's awesome.
About 2 hours. I told her people hated drawing Reach's helmet, and she's like, well, I want to do it now. So I was really
I liked about on that Reach's, each one of those buttons had a very specific name, and because even you didn't know if there's any Easter eggs behind it or not, but when you read it, it really allowed your imagination to run wild on like, okay, why is it all
Easter eggs?
Yeah.
There's one specific that's a huge Easter egg for the end of the book. But Brad was sitting there and he goes, the name, each button has to have some really stupid name. And we said, him and Terrell sat there in a circle and just came up with the dumbest names we possibly could think of. And it was like, we had to make them like sports related and like the Wayne Gretzky, like, what's that? We want people to ask, what is that? So we can say, I don't know, you'll find out. I might put it in the book later on. I'm going to give him the Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. So, I know Jerry's like, he's not patient. And I'm like, no pressure, right, Jerry?
No.
No pressure on my end, right?
And it gave me a heart attack. I won't lie. Like, I sat there. I felt I had been sick the night before. Well, I just didn't feel well, and I woke up to that. Like, I slept on the couch, but then when I get if I did have something, I didn't want to get anybody sick. I wake up. I'm like, oh man, are you kidding me? Like something else went wrong.
My bad, Chris. I'm sorry.
Hey, Jerry, where are you from, man? I heard you're from New York.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
another
born
Yankee.
and raised in Brooklyn.
All right.
Yep.
I'm from.
But I live in Long Island now.
There we go. No, dude,
Oh boy.
I grew up in Staten Island. Went to school in Long Island. Met my wife in Rocky Point when I started working in Queens, man.
Yeah.
Got some Northerners on this call.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm from Connecticut. Thank you very much. I'm a Yankee too.
There we go.
Me and Dennis just got transplanted down south.
There you go. Me too.
My wife is actually from North Jersey, but she used to frequent the city quite a bit. She's from Port Reading, Woodbridge.
Oh, yeah.
So not too far, one bridge over, and you're in you're in Staten Island or whatever you're right in the city. So yeah, so it's here we all are, and then we got Tiernan.
T-Bone.
T-Bone here. And we got T-Bone. So, but
Northern corner here. Don't like it.
Yes, the youngest member of our team tonight. So, but all right. So, we wanted to talk. Sorry, guys, I'm just putting something up on Instagram right now. We wanted to talk about how we unwind. Like I said, I think that's is being an artist and creating stuff is great. But I think if you don't deal with the stress that either it's self-induced stress, which I'm sure we've all done, every single one of us here have done it, and where you put massive amounts of pressure on your shoulders to deliver or sometimes just to create a single piece of art. And if you don't deal with those stressors, like it's going to consume you. I think we've all been to that point where it's just you deal with it or you're literally going to just ruin yourself. And so I thought like this would be a really good, we talked about it and we thought this would be a really good, really, he's got a homebrewed, really.
That
I'm
is
like,
awesome.
oh, okay.
Every call, he's got to do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, oh, someone's fancy. All right. So, okay.
I had to walk away for a second. Give me a break.
Yeah. That's really cool that you could throw up I'm going to have to do that now. See? Now I'm gonna, no, but
Good,
hey, don't worry.
Oh, see that again, Jerry. Come on, man.
I don't know how to do this. I don't want to push anything and cut myself off.
Don't worry. We'll get you back. But yeah, so I think like, how we deal with that is important. And I know we all have varied methods on doing so. So and like, I want this one to be, which it always is. We very much shoot from the hip from here. So I don't really, our format is extremely loose, and our inboxes are even looser, according to Dennis. And so, because Dennis, he likes the inboxes, if anyone knows. So,
Hey man, Dennis has been slacking for a few weeks. So
no, not me.
Oh,
He blew mine up today at work. I sent him one
did.
text, and he's like, "Yeah, incoming." Boom! I got
Boom.
10 images in my thing. I'm like, "All right, ready to rock, man."
I'll explain.
But,
yeah.
No, it's good. It's all good. So, who wants to take the wheel first? Let's talk about, I guess. I mean, we can introduce a related topic to this too. You know what I mean? Like, all right. Let's go with when you're struggling with a piece of art, right? Like, there's something that you just can't get to click. What do? Do you work at it excessively until you get to the point till you nail it, or do you take a break and do you walk away and maybe even come back to it a day later? Like, I'm just curious to see how each one of us would handle a situation like that. So we'll go around. Chris, how would you handle something like that?
I'm thinking about a few pieces that were stressful. I mean, you got a few of you. I think actually everybody in this room has seen the Crit 2 digital. There are a few pages, especially the splash pages I did, the big ones, where I would hit my head against the wall trying to make them perfect. I mean, I try to make everything as good as possible. There's certain pages where I'm like, this is as good as it's going to get. But generally what I'll do is I'll reach a breaking point where I have erased a page or removed something. Your cover for the Conjure cover is a perfect example. I walked away from that 2 or 3 times and either went back to work because I work from home. So I'll just open the computer and go back to work and find something else to dive into. I'll turn the TV on. Or honestly, I work on other aspects of Crit. I mean, I've got the game. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a break from the artwork and start working on my game manual and just try to find another creative outlet for that energy. Because usually when I'm sitting down creating, I have this pent up energy, but I'll hit a brick wall when I'm drawing something. I'll put it in, I'll send it to you usually and ask you, what the heck do I do here? And, then you'll tell me to add more specs. But
more grit. So,
but I do like to use that creative energy for something, because I feel like when I'm sitting down and I'm in that zone, if I hit a brick wall, that energy's still there. So I'll use it on other aspects, whether it's creating something like a post for Instagram or something. I just try to keep it Crit related, something to keep the momentum going, because I'm married, got a wife and kid, got jobs to do. So that time that I have to be creative, I want to make sure that I'm using it properly.
All right, that's good. That's I think a lot of folks here, I think a lot of guys can relate to that too. All right, T-Bone, what do you do if have a writer's block, or you're just your creativity's flowing and just for some reason, like for like a couple days in a row, you're really like banging out some really amazing writing, and then you just hit a wall or you just can't get past this one scene or whatever. What do you do for that?
Well, for me, I don't give up.
Right.
I always stick to it. I don't care if it like really annoys me. I just keep going and going. There was one piece that I gave up on nearly, and that was one, if you saw the Instagram recently, I uploaded something called I think I keep getting the name, but it's a character for Slate Comics, and it took me so long to get him right, since he's based off of that joke character I told you all about, which is a real man. And I basically improved on so much, and I was just like, I don't think that'll work, but this will work, but that won't work. And I basically hit a wall, and I just backed up a bit, and I just looked at it, and then I did something I never expected I would do, because I don't think I even know this, but I hate Captain America. I do not like him. I do not know why, but I looked at him for inspiration, and
So you're basically like
Oh.
the rest of the world. You hate America. You're just. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Don't worry. We understand. We know. We know. Don't worry.
I don't hate America. I have cousins up there. I don't hate it.
I tried to steer you into that. Nice recovery.
But the best way to put it though is that those of my characters are American. So just to tell you that straight out, like
well, you're doing a Western for God's sakes, yeah.
Yeah, since most of my characters are partly Irish or some kind of stuff, but I always take inspiration off of Irish stuff. I always do it. I do it the whole time, and I use Captain America.
Hey, I knew you were coming on, so look, I gotta come on.
There you go.
Okay, right? St. Patty's Day, right? Right? I know I'm early, but right? Okay. This is for you. That's for you too. Yeah. So T-Bone, like, do you think that character is speaking of that you were creating for Slate? I know what you're talking about. It was one of the villains, right? And all right, do you think maybe you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and that's kind of why you hit that wall? Do you think like that may have happened?
I hit so many blocks. Like, even I told Jack how many times I went through, since I was thinking I could put in another character like Siberian that I made, and he's like, "Oh, we could do that." But, like, I don't want to, and use him for something else. That should have been the other. It's like, I don't want to use that.
Right.
But then I decided just to pick a character I hated. So I just picked Real Man, just change them up. And the problem is now I'm starting to like him more. So I'm just like,
I will tell you, it's a cool looking character. I just saw it was, like I said, work was a little nuts today, but I came across it. I'm digging it, like the tomahawks and all that. It's cool stuff, man. Good stuff.
She's probably Russian, since I have a thing about Russians. I don't know why, since, bulkiness.
Don't we all?
So it's just like one of my friends that I'm not really talking that much, but he's Russian, born Russian, all that, and he told me all of Russian, culture and all that. So
I will tell you, one of the toughest men I ever met, and I've known a lot of them, but I met this guy. He was a former Russian wrestler, not professional wrestler, like he like real, like and he was also a strongman. And he was much older. He, like, when I met him, he was probably easily in his 70s. He was actually in the hospital. I was at that time, way back when I was a supervisor, security supervisor at a hospital. And so I got to talking with him, and he was just hands down, not because he's lifting weights, not because he's throwing stuff, but just talking to the guy, you knew this guy saw some shit. Like, you just, you know what I mean? You knew he's done it. And you just have when you talk to certain people, you just know that they're the real deal. And his fingers are like this big around from like all the kind of stuff. He was an animal. Like I said to one of the junior guys that were under me, I'm like, man, if he gets out of hand, like, I don't want, and I'm an accomplished martial artist, I'm like, I don't want to tussle with that guy. He'll get a hold of you and snap you like no problem. And he'll treat you like Bane. But so no, I get you. Russian, they're very unique group of people. Like they've been.
I used to do security in a Russian pool hall.
Yeah, right.
And it was this Russian dude that used to walk in. I was like, just so everyone knows, if he goes nuts, everyone's for themselves. Like, I'm not stopping this guy. Like, it's not happening. You know. So.
All right. Well, Jerry, good segue for you, Jerry. You're up.
You know what's funny is that this literally happened to me last night. I was at work and I'm literally writing the script for issue 2 of The Elements. And, I have like the broad story written out in my notebook, but now it's like breaking it down into the script. And I got to a point where I was just kind of like, I don't like the way this is turning out in the script.
Mhm.
So I was trying to find another way to turn turn the page, put something else in there,
Right.
and I just couldn't do it. And I'm talking about I was like in the flow for a few hours, just writing and
Yeah, yeah.
everything. And then I got to this point, and I'm like, wait, what? Wait, I don't like the way this sounds. And I'm there like, something else has to go here. And I've just been stuck
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that point
Yeah.
since last night, and it's just like one of those things. It's like, you know what? I got to step back, take a breather. The funny thing about me is that I feel like my most creative time is right in the morning when I wake up. And I want to say that's like the stress of life is before the stress of life hits you.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
And I would wake up with like these ridiculous ideas, and I was like, yo, that's a great idea. Every morning it happens that way. So you'll see a post from me like early in the morning or something like that. It's literally because I woke up and it just like popped into my head. So it was just like, let me step back, let me relax and everything, because the more I try to rush into it, the more I'm just gonna force myself to put something down on paper that I don't like. So it's always good to just step back, take a breather and let the creative juices come back when it's ready to come back.
That's yeah, I've been there for sure. Yeah, that's yeah, no pressure, right? All right, Dennis. What do you got?
So it's gonna sound weird, but I typically, even when I don't have a lot of, I don't usually stop. Like if I start a piece and I'm not feeling it, I don't walk away. I always keep going, and I just keep going, and it may not feel right or don't got the same like gesture I want, but I know at the end for some odd reason that it's gonna look the way I want it to.
Okay.
So I've come to a lot of blocks where I'm like, this looks like trash, but just keep going. I'll keep going and you kind of just, the more I keep going, the more it works. And I do, it's funny, Jerry mentioned this. I do most of my work, it sounds odd, from about 10 o'clock at night to about 1 in the morning. And that's usually because my wife is sleeping next to me in bed, and I could just, in the dark, I'm on my iPad, just quiet and going. And usually I'll just keep going. And then if I get tired, I know as soon as I get it to a point where I think it looks good, it doesn't look good. So I'll be like, this looks great. I put it down, and I know I'll revisit it about 3 days later, and then I'll work on it again, because by then I'll have new eyes on it and it looks totally different. But I think T-Bone had mentioned that, to walk away, I usually don't walk away until I think it looks great, and then I'll revisit it and be like, oh man, there's so many errors in it, then I can see it. But I just keep going forward and forward and forward. And then usually by the end of it, I'll be like, if I would have gave up, I would have walked away and I wouldn't have gotten where I want to. So it's more of my process of just barreling forward, and I keep hitting things, like hitting my
Well,
marks.
your process seems to be a lot like that. You have a artistic vision. You have, you see the other side of it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us have come across it like, but I like how you approach it though. You're just going to barrel right through it until you get the piece that you want. You know what I mean? And that's pretty cool. Like I usually have personally like something stuck in my head that I keep trying to get out on paper. Like that happens to me a lot. And sometimes it doesn't translate to what's floating around in the noggin and then what's on paper. But yeah, I have done it kind of like you do it. Like sometimes I see and I will just, but I have so much, and this is here what we talked about before. I've added so much pressure onto myself for this book, The Hunter's Moon, right now, because I want to make it everything everyone wants it is expecting it to be. So I'm constantly like, sometimes the most minute detail is something that I can't get right, and I have to step back. I have to start drawing another page or another, or switch to another panel. And like, I literally have walked away from a certain panels for like 2 days and then came back to it and just hit it. And the first time I got it, boom, nailed it. And so for me, I think a lot of time what happens is the anticipation of creating, I guess, just giving, because I want people to be, I want you to enjoy the book. So I want to make sure that it's something, that I would read. So I'm putting all this pressure on myself. And so, yeah, I back up. I usually step away or just like Chris says, I'll move on to something else that's related. Like I'll do that as well. Like I'll step away and say, okay, well, I'm going to draw. Yeah, and there's been times like, and like Jerry was saying with writing, and T-Bone saying with writing, I just, sometimes you hit that, you want that, you get in that nice flow, like they're saying, you're just like, it's cruising, and then you get to where a certain point where it's either a cliffhanger or you need to get it to make that next page turn to where it's like an in-your-face panel, or something, right? And then you end up, unbeknownst to you, your flow is great, but then you hit that spot, and then you're just like, and you're looking at something that you wrote, and then you're trying to figure out how you're going to connect it to everything else that you just wrote, and how you're going to top it all off and make it flow seamlessly. You know what I mean? That's the thing with writing; it's got to be seamlessly. And so I literally feel each and every one of yours. I've been through the whole roller coaster of emotions on this thing. So everything you guys are saying, I'm just like, yeah, that's me.
But like Chris said, there's like another person. I at least have like 3 more people that have an input in the elements. So like that's what the whole 4 brothers are about. It's about me and 3 other people in my life. So sometimes when I do get into those situations, it's kind of like, yo, we need a meeting. I need to talk to someone. I need someone to help me through this real quick. And then I'll give them a call and we'll sit down and, we'll talk about it real quick. And then be like, yeah, maybe you should do it this way. And it's like, perfect. I love getting ideas from other people and then running with it, because I can also create it into what I'm looking for.
And that's funny. That's something Chris and I and Dennis and I, like, we do that a lot. And it's just nice to have, what's the saying, a fresh pair of eyes on something, someone else seeing it that doesn't have all your pressure, you know what I mean? And Chris will send stuff to me, I send stuff to Chris, I'll put stuff in the chat for like the guys on the team. So it's just, no, I get it. And you're right. That is very beneficial sometimes, because sometimes it's also very invigorating, I think, because somebody else, will come at it. And I'm sure Tiernan does the same thing with like and all them, or you look at something and you're like, well, no, what if you did this, or what if it was like this, or maybe do this, and then you're like, wow, you never saw it because you were so laser like tunnel visioned on it. And then somebody's like, well, you could just seriously put Natalie, preach Jason's, he says, you could put something, somebody else's, and it's I didn't have that up until recently. So I really enjoy having people that I, just like you, Jerry, that I can just literally bounce this off of. And that's totally important. So
Jason, can I touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just only because I'm looking at all you 4 and you guys are writers, So I know me, if I do hit a block or I'm looking for inspiration or something, I'll flip open a book of like my favorite artist, John Byrne or Joe Mad. I know you guys aren't going to open a book and be like, I'm getting inspiration from Stephen King. So like, what are you looking like? Jerry, I was a good example of reaching out to your friends or your partners and all that. But like, what are you guys doing? Like when you hit a block, like, what is that next step? For me, I know it's as simple as opening a comic book. I can open up a Ninja Turtles and be like, I got, that feel. I'm like, oh, there's that juice. What are you guys doing as writers?
Oh, no, that's a good question. Who wants to tackle it first?
I'll let Dennis choose. It's his question. Let him choose.
All right, Dennis, you choose.
I'm going to choose Chris.
I knew it.
I would say I'm probably one of the most blessed people as far as the creative process, because if I do hit a brick wall, I'll use issue 0 as an example. Issue 0 was never supposed to happen. I never planned to redo it. There's a lot of stuff that happened in that time period where issue 0 takes place that we rewrote. We threw all that out. The original concept of the game that we were playing was there wasn't supposed to be an explanation because it's a game. So when it translated onto paper, I needed a reason and how everybody got their powers, which is what, that we wanted to put in that book. And there was a specific piece in issue 0. I'm not going to give it away for anybody yet, but there was a specific piece in the story where I like to, we talk about Easter eggs and we talk about how things are supposed to that we want to show up and kind of like make people think. There's a page on there, and I hit this wall of how to explain or how to visually see this. And I just picked up the phone. First, I called Brad, because Brad is like my lore master on my stuff. And I said, hey, could we put this on this page and have and this is what causes everything? And he was like, well, that's kind of lame. And I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, I think it sucks, but I don't know what to do because we've changed the story so much. And we sat for like an hour, and he was like, well, why don't you do this? This would be cool. And I never even thought of it. And so I wrote it into the book, and now it's canonical that this happened, and this is what causes everything. And then, of course, so I have big filter and I have little filter. Big filter is Brad. Little filter is Terrell. Terrell usually filters out all the crap before it gets to Brad, because Brad hates everything that I do. And Brad hates comic books and he hates superheroes. He absolutely doesn't enjoy either one. So that's why I like bouncing my stuff off of him, because if I can get someone who doesn't like comics and doesn't like superheroes to like that, it works. And when I say he doesn't like this stuff, it's just not, he likes manga, he likes, Japanese animation.
He's an anime guy.
Right.
An anime guy.
So when I get a story that he likes, and then I go to Terrell and I say to him, like, what do you think? Terrell's opposite. Terrell loves science fiction, loves superheroes. I asked him if we could ever play a real Dungeons and Dragons game. He's like, no, I don't want to fight orcs and stuff like that. That's stupid. Give me spaceships and give me Mass Effect, and I'm happy. And so, if I can get both of those people to like what's going on, I feel like I have a good idea. And then when it comes to certain things that I don't want to bounce off them, like, you see the stuff that I post in the Wolfpack. It's like, if I hit a story piece where I don't know how visually, like, I know my guys can see it this way because they experienced it. But if I say, hey guys, what do you think of this page? Does it flow right? And you can get the idea, then I'm good, because you don't know the background of that story. You don't know that Brad did this or so-and-so did this. You don't know that stuff. So getting your perspective, I'm blessed there. And then on top of it, I have my wife who's very creative and very visual. And so if I'm in again, the Conjure piece, I couldn't visually see that. And I went to her and I was like, hey, what do you think of this? Even writing wise, I'm like, what do you think of this? Sometimes, she has no dog in the fight on it, but sometimes she'll say that doesn't make sense or that sounds stupid. And then we'll just rework it. So I'm kind of blessed in that aspect where I can literally talk to so many creative people, and people that, I don't feel would feel slated. Like if their idea doesn't get used, or people who don't think that I'd be spoiling something later on, because that's a big piece. I could go into Instagram and say, hey fans, what do you think of this? And then they read the book, they're like, oh yeah, I already knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to pull a Palpatine and put it in the trailer and have everybody go, oh,
I know. Well, they just wanted people to show up to that movie. That's why they did that.
Yeah.
And it turned a lot of people away, not gonna lie. Like I remember reading the interview, the guy that played Palpatine, and he was like, I thought I was dead. It's in the script. I die. Like, well, anyway, I'm not going to go down that road.
Yeah. Yeah, let's save that for another episode. All right. So Dennis, you picked now. You still picking?
Oh, go T-Bone.
All right, T.
Oh God. Wait a second. I gotta wake up my head now.
You want to refresh him on the question.
Yeah, refresh me, please.
Well, I was just saying, like, for me, it's easier where I can just get inspiration from opening up, like, one of my favorite comics. You guys are writers. When you guys are looking for inspiration, when you hit a dead end, like, what are you looking for that inspiration or that idea that will take you to the next level? Like, what are you doing?
The funny part is that most of my inspiration doesn't come from books or anything, since I didn't grow up with comic books. I actually just grew up with, creativity, since that's how I went with it. And you already know, like, rest people know here, like, I literally just, most of my characters came from, dreams I had. Like, even like Terrasite, it came from a nightmare I had. And I was like, well, I like this, I'll take that, the type of thing. And, it helped me through a lot as well. So, like, this kind of, that's my inspiration just comes from my dreams and everything. And I just put that into, storytelling. And I kind of, then after that, I started to, take inspiration from different movies, like in, 2007 when Iron Man came. That's when I was like, that's when I wanted to know what I was doing. And then I started to create, out of nowhere, I started making, Bionicles. That's when I started making my very first character, which was Titan. So that's how it all went down. But my creativity went all over the place when when I was 16. Something happened, and I was I was alone since that was the year my granddad died, and he was my other dad. So I went down, like really down. My creativity went down. ACI went down. Like everything just went. And yeah, so my inspiration just comes from personal experience, as may put it. Since like even if you notice, like in some of the stories, like you could see like some Spider-Man stuff in it, or some like Captain America or Iron Man. There could be anything in it. Like Nouveau, I will say, is based off of Spider-Man more than anything, since agility, strength, speed, all that type of thing. But funny enough, on the Star Wars thing, based more on Star Wars. That's the funny part of it. So
well, I know that you said before. I mean, I mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted, because you reminded me of something you said on a previous thing, is that you had took a lot of your inspiration from the Marvel movies, right? At some point, like they really sparked some creativity in you. Now, I think what Dennis was asking, like if you hit your roadblock in writing, Nouveau or the Envoy, whatever you're currently writing, and let's say you hit a roadblock, would you go back to a movie? And like you say, like you would say, like Nouveau is kind of similar to Spider-Man in attributes. Would you go watch Spider-Man for some inspiration? That's to try to get the juices, the firing and everything.
I wouldn't actually, would you believe? I wouldn't go back to that movie at all, since for me, that's just how my mind goes. If I look at one movie, my mind just goes, just capture that. Like literally, when I look at a movie, I kind of like copy it all into my mind, and then then my mind goes ahead, and then that's how it all comes down. Since that's since if I just look at a thing once, I can just remember it off by heart, because I go photographic memory, so I can just look at something and just goes.
I'm the complete opposite.
All right, we got Taskmaster in here now. All right.
That's
photographic reflexes. I've had so much damage to my skull. Like I'm just like, on Crossfire, I showed you guys those books. That's so I don't forget.
Exactly. Like that's why I walk around with a notepad.
If I don't write that down,
I gotta write it down real quick.
God.
I really don't forget things. This game's been going on for over a year with Crit, and we sat down to write issue 3 2 weeks ago, and the guys were like, "Well, what happened?" And I just listed everything. I don't remember, what moves were used or who did what exactly, but I told them the entire story. I told them who was fighting who and who did this and what ended this, and they were like, "How do you remember that?" I'm like, "My dad." I get it.
That's crazy.
Well, that's what my wife says that about me. She says that if she asks me to do something, I'll forget it. But if it's like something that's important to me, like I feel like
my wife.
I'm like, that's guys, right? I don't think it's just me.
I can't remember to pick up the trash, but I can remember what happened a year ago in my game.
I know.
Like that happens for me as well, Chris, as well. Like even like everyone in ACI, like they keep asking me questions because I'm the one that knows the ACI universe like everywhere, from everything. Even I know every species, every name, their biology, their everything, and it keeps going on and on. And then there's like David Braga out of nowhere just looking. It's like, who's this guy? And it's like, oh, that's Baton. Who's Baton? Oh, he's an Ova, orange color. He begins with a P. His biology is very aggressive, type of thing. I'd be like,
yeah. Well,
how do you remember this?
Well, that's great. Just so you know, this is the last time you're on the show. I'm just telling you. You're not going to come in here with all your photographic memory and instant recall.
My
You're
goodness.
not going to come in here and make.
I didn't say it was great. Didn't say it was great.
Uh,
Oh, man.
Go ahead, Jerry. I know you had spoken about it, Jerry, but I just wanted to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, so basically for me, I guess the whole comic book process has been kind of difficult because I'm also like an anime guy. You know, this whole thing started with anime for me. And it just got to a point me and the other guys was just basically like, yo, we should try and write a story about it. And, you know, we knew it wasn't going to make an anime right off the bat. So we decided to kind of fall into comics. I used to read comics. I kind of fell off of comics because there's just too much comics, too many universes. So it's like, hey, I love Batman, I love Superman. And it's like, all right, boom, I got the Batman. Yeah, I got the Batman story down pat. And then there's like another dimension where there's like a different Batman and he was created differently. And, you know, it just kind of like made me fall off track with that. So it was just like, you know, when we got into the comic book, it was like, now I have to convert anime, like visual into a comic scene. And that became very difficult. So when it came to that, it was like, you know, I'd go back to like Dragon Ball Z or something because Dragon Ball Z started the whole anime universe for me. You know, I'll go back to something like that and stuff, and we'll look at what we like and what we don't like about like certain anime shows that we watch, and we go, okay, yeah, you know, we want to do this, we don't want to do that. Yeah, we want to do this, we don't want to do that. We would rather keep away from this or do that, you know. And I have said this before, like one of my biggest issues with like Dragon Ball Z is you have one main character and pretty much everyone else is useless. All you need is Goku. That's it.
I didn't say it this time.
And
No,
it irritates me.
That's usually Chris's tangent.
Like it drives me up the wall because you got other people with great abilities, but it means nothing in that world. So
he's not. He doesn't even have it. He's like a human, and he's going toe to toe with these dudes, and people don't even like say anything. He gets made fun of all the time. I'm like, this dude's a human. And he's going toe to toe with these godlike aliens, and no one's calling this fellow out. Like,
yeah, exactly. Krillin who's been relevant since Frieza. Like he was going toe to toe with Frieza. Like, dude, and that's why I say one of my favorite episodes is with Tien when he was holding down Imperfect Cell. And he was just blasting them so number 17 can run away before she gets absorbed. And he was just holding him there. And I was just like, I love a moment like that. You know, moments like that, I feel go such a long way. You know, so whenever it comes to roadblocks like that.
I hate Goku, man. I hate him. He gets on stage. We have 3 episodes of like doing, oh, like, come on. Dialogue for him is easy. It's like, where's my beans? Oh, I'm awake. Food. Oh, let me just scream for 5 minutes, and then let me call my enemy. Oh, I really like your powers. Let me be as strong as
Stop
there. I'm gonna get mad again and say something.
I didn't plan this one out, having Jerry on and Chris at the same time.
Yeah, we have a Chris rant. It's a Chris rant every single episode. This is Chris rant.
I don't blame him.
Me and Jerry and I have our own heat, but it's not Dragon Ball. It's not Dragon Ball.
So when I got into bodybuilding, all my bodybuilding friends were huge Dragon Ball fans, and I got dragged to watch Dragon Ball. I hated the first season. They're like, oh, there's this cut down version. I didn't like that, so I was forced to watch all that. Then when I did Crit, all the guys in Crit love anime. And I've never watched any of it. So I'm sitting here like they're giving me their logins to Crunchyroll and all these other things so I can study because they, you know, as they're creators as well, they want some of that anime feel in the comics. I'm like, so you just yell out your moves all the time and say stupid stuff. Okay, we're good.
Wow.
But you know what? It's
on the
niche
nose.
entertainment. It's niche. You know.
I like some of them. I really do like there's one anime, Vampire Hunter D. I really like that one. And the Death Note. That one was phenomenal. Yeah. But you know, there's just and Goblin Hunter or Goblin Slayer.
Yeah, Goblin Hunter. Yeah.
Goblin Slayer, the first episode was a little bit cringy, but it was a good series. Other than that, I really just don't get into them. My Hero is a huge thing for my guys, and I'm like, after season 1, it kind of got boring. But I'll stop there.
I personally, I'm not a real anime guy either, but I do like. I watched Ultraman on Netflix. Like that was that shit was the bomb. Like I love Ultraman. Now remember, I'm really old, so I used to watch the live action.
I remember the old Ultraman.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
and then I watched that anime stuff. That anime shit was fire, man. That was amazing, and it tied into the old live action series. It was really flawless the way they did it. It was like I said, I really like that. I like the remake of the Voltron that they did. I mean, even the original Voltron I liked, but.
I mean, granted, there's other animes out there that are doing much better than what Dragon Ball Z did, where their sub characters are more relevant than what Dragon Ball Z did. So those are also like good references we would go to, and whenever we reach kind of like a roadblock and reference them and be like, maybe we could do something in that category and change it up and everything. So I always tell my boys, like, yo, whatever pops in your head, throw it at me. Because I'm the kind of person that feel like whatever you throw at me, I think I can make it work. And one of my friends literally said, run real fast. I said, are you joking? He goes, nope, run real fast. I said, I'll come up with a story for that. And I literally came with a story for that. And they were like, are you serious? And I was like, don't challenge me. Like, I'm up for the challenge, So, and, so basically, that's basically what I do. I go back to like some animes, and we always go back to the boys, and we just pull in our ideas and create something out of that.
Nice.
All right, so that leaves me now.
Get it, Sarge.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So what inspires me to get re-inspired? I guess. A lot of times I will go and look at a lot of my old art. Like I'll do that. Like if I've hit a wall, and I will go and just go through the pile of stuff that I have and trying to find something that just says, hey, remember when you drew this? Look what you're doing now. Or maybe if I could, maybe it just helps spark. If I'm having trouble with a panel, it'll help spark maybe a different view of that panel. You know what I mean? Like I'll come across something and I talked about on Crossfire last night, like that old image I have of the convictor doing, in motion. I knew I had that, and I knew I didn't like what I was drawing for the panel. So I sat, and that's one of the panels I stepped away from because it was very important. I had to get him from one side of the alley to the other. I had to put him in the same space as the Wolfman. So I had to, and I wanted it to be dynamic, but I just couldn't nail it. So I went back and I just sat, I drew, other panels and stuff, but I just sat back. I waited. I just stared at it, and then it clicked. I remember I had something. I went and just going through all my, even last night, just going through my old stuff, just going through it and just looking at it, just like, it just rises. It really does. Yeah. And so sometimes that really works well for me. And other times it could be, honestly, as a writer, for the writing aspect is go back and read books that inspired me to write the way I write. Like I still have all of my Don Pendleton Executioner books and all those books that I've kind of patterned the Convictor novels, if you will, the comics after, so I'll go read them, and they're very detailed, specific, like I've mentioned before. So like when I read them, that really gets me back into the groove of how I like to write. So yeah, I kept those. I've had those books they're like 30 years old, at least 30 years since I've owned them anyway. So I got tons of them. So I'll go back and look at them, and sometimes it helps, and other times, seriously, for me, just to get the creative back is just like most of us said, just talking to somebody else.
Yes.
And, just saying, I've done it, I just say, how would you do this? And so that helps. So that, I have many avenues. I think most of us do. And that's really awesome too. So yeah, so that's how it works for me. Yeah, hearing everybody's way they did it's awesome.
Can I just say as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
That I want to say thanks to Homebrew and Dennis for helping me with the color of Nuvor. And so I asked them for advice for the color of the pages, and they gave me some advice, and I actually went with it.
Was Nuvar was he was going to be red, white, and blue, right?
Well, originally.
No, I'm
I'm
just saying.
actually telling the truth. He actually was actually.
Because when you said you had one thing, I'm pretty sure you were going to come in with like, I like America. I just like Captain America. I thought that's what you were doing. I'm half tempted to go change my shirt. I really am. So, I'm just busting your balls.
Well, to really put this in your face here.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I see. All right. We'll back off. But
I got the next question. Because I have a question here. So I know from everybody's lives, and Dennis, I know you've been drawing for a year, but you can't tell me that you just started drawing last year. I know you've had a pen in your hand for years.
Yeah.
So creatively speaking, it can be writing, it can be art. Jason, I know you've got 35 years on a character. Jerry, how long have you been working on your stuff?
I'm 35 years old now. I want to say we started creating the elements around 14, 15 years old. Okay. So
Tiernan, I know you've been working on some of this stuff since you said 8 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so and I won't go into mine till last. Jason, I'm going to start this one with you. Right. After 35 years and you're bringing your creations to life again, or for the first time, because some of these have never seen an actual action scene or a story. Mm-hmm. What's the process? You looking back at all this stuff and bringing it to life?
So what's the process to bring something?
Like how do you go from 35 years ago to a story that was relevant in 1990 to something relevant now in 2020?
Okay. That's a good question. What I actually did was you saw, I keep referring, but you saw Hellwolf. You saw the original Hellwolf image I had. He was very much a G.I. Joe action figure. He just had that aesthetics to him. And at the time, that was a lot of my influence was G.I. Joe cartoon, the action figures and all that stuff in the 80s. So when I wanted to bring him to modern, I gave him less silly shit. You know what I mean? So he had more realistic things. So I gave him, instead of like all these belts and pouches and stuff, I was like, okay, this is a guy that would use limited amount of this. He would wear more of a military plate carrier. He would have a pistol on his chest. Things that are rarely available for someone that's supposed to be a high level tier operator. Like a guy like him. So I did the same thing with the Convictor. When I decided to redo this, if you look earlier on the Instagram, I went and I literally revamped his suit. Mm-hmm. I gave him more of what I feel like in today's era with, the suits that you see on Marvel movies, the suits that you see when they updated Batman to the New 52, his suit got a really for lack of a realistic approach to it. It had seams, it had overlays, it had, things, so I was like, what, I wanted to try to make it look something like that, even shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that, even the suits are there, and they have like textures, like basically textures. They have a guy running around in spandex or whatever. I mean, I would get texture. So I did that. I spent probably a good month trying to come up with what I wanted for him. And so I nailed it, and I got to the point where I nailed it down, and I thought that's what it is. So I did the same thing for Conjure. I'm doing the same thing for any character that I'm going to be bringing out of the vault. Even Clamoid. Clamoid realistically didn't really look like that. He was a lot stupider looking. And when I drew that picture, I made him as cool as a guy with a clam head could look. So, so I mean, I just try to update them. I try to make them flow with the time, and as a writer, I try to do the same thing. I try to bring it. The Resurgence book that I'm working on after Hunter's Moon, like that's all '90s stories of mine. Some are written, some are drawn out, and I try to bring them. I try to keep them with the nostalgia because I really like the fact they have that '90s feel to it. But I also try to put in a little bit, modern stuff. Like I said, if you look at all the villains, all the gang members in Resurgence, that came out there, we have a highlight reel on the Instagram page, but all the gang members are literally throwbacks to any 80s and 90s movie you literally ever watched, and it's every 80s and 90s movies I've ever watched. I got a guy with a mohawk with one big sunglasses. If these guys aren't like your standard tropes, for gang members, and I like that. I didn't update them. I liked the feel of that. So, and I just gave them, more of a. So that's what I try to do. I try to keep it nostalgic, but I try to move it in. Try to modern it. As my son would say, church it up a bit. And so that's kind of what I do. And that's
so you give like a modern aesthetic with the original feel.
Yeah, that's in a nutshell, and a much shorter, less long-winded as me. Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Well, one of the things that I did notice about a lot of your early work, we look at the 90s, and if you look at 90s characters, everybody was based off an animal. We had so many animal, characters coming out. And then you have like He-Man, for instance, and I know you're very highly inspired by He-Man. We've talked about this in the past. He-Man, I think itself just had a lot of inspiration for a lot of creators, because you do see that in a lot of books. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to know. And I'm going to move to Tiernan next, because he's a completely different age group and didn't experience a lot of that stuff. So Tiernan, age 8, you come up with Nuvor. Now you're 16.
I'm 20, and I started doing these things when I was 10. So
okay,
10 years ago.
So you take some of the stuff you drew and you created 10 years, or you created 10 years ago, and you're trying to bring that into this time period with all the stuff you're working on now. How do you evolve your characters from 2010 to fit into your stories from 2020?
That's a hard one to say, because it went through so much evolution. It's unbelievable. Since at 10, there were only a thought in my head. And then, stuff started happening. I went back to when I was 8, 2 years later, when I was 12. And that's when I started making Barnacles. So Titan was originally supposed to be like a big green robotic, since I was wanting to make a Transformer series. So I made this stupid name called Destructioneers. I know, stupid name.
That's pretty cool. I don't know. Wait, so I'm asking,
I like
you're not using it?
Yeah,
no, I'm not. I got rid of it. I decided to change it to Durkrat, but it was my original, yes. I had a title and everything. I don't know where it is, but I made a title for it and plugged it on somewhere. I don't know where it is. But, and then I started looking into things, saw the Marvel movies and all this, and thinking that, people don't really like just robotic characters, and seeing how Transformers went downhill. And then I was just like, what if I made a skin character? Someone actually has skin on them. And that's when the first version of Nuvor came along. Originally, he was supposed to be called Nova, but of course, couldn't keep that because of Marvel's Nova. So I did the stupidest idea, but it was kind of funny though. I mixed 2 Latin words together and mixed them with Spanish and French. That means shining star, and put them together, and that makes Nuvor. It's a simple logic. And it kind of stuck, and then I just might as well go right ahead with this and all that. And even originally, Nuvor was never supposed to have a daughter, never was supposed to have one at all. But then met David, and he came up with a character called Valerie Torres, and I was like, she actually looks like my character for some reason. And then where things out, and she came into Nuvor's daughter, and that's basically the evolution of Nuvor, technically, since I have old pictures of what he used to look like, and oh my god, it used to be a team thing, it was like him and other people, and they used to have robotic suits. They were terrible. It's like, think of a weird version of Iron Man. The piss stick of Iron Man. I keep forgetting the name of it, but it basically looked like that. Looked like a big massive box, That's what it looked like. And I hated it. I hated it. But then I went on to, and then I was offered a job in MW Industries. Have you heard of them? And yeah, I went into them and they got, worked with some people. They made them out. But the only thing that I didn't like is that I was sidelined. And, saying like I was the backup plan in a way. And I kind of didn't like that very much. So me and David worked together to make a different branch, which originally was called Prime Star. And yeah, then we changed it. And then Nathan came along and we were like, ACI Industries. But then, change it back to ACI Comics, and that's where we are now. That's basically it. But
so getting
yeah.
other people's, getting more like a bigger group to help you kind of helped evolve some of your characters.
You have no idea how many members of ACI we had. We had 8 once once upon a time, but all of them left because most of them hated me. Would you believe? Because they said they didn't like my guidance. They said I was stupid, and I even remember a comment saying that you're a terrible friend, you're terrible at writing, even though I had a story out before him, and his story made terrible reviews.
Hey,
But,
some people don't recognize vision, buddy.
it's a rivalry between us. It's unbelievable.
If you look at Disney, his teachers used to tell me he was never going to amount to anything. So, cool. I'm gonna go to Jerry next because I had the pleasure of reading E4, and you said you're 35, so you have 20 years of experience with these characters, and I can relate to you where they're based off of your friends. So you're 15, 20 years ago. That puts you at 2005, right? 20 years ago would be 2000. Sorry. So in the year 2000. We don't even have Iron Man yet. The coolest superhero movie we have is either Spider-Man, Batman '89, still one of the best movies ever made.
Oh, yeah.
We have the awesome yet terrible X-Men. X-Men 1, good for the time. Then X-Men 3 comes out and they pull a Spider-Man 3 and ruin the whole franchise. The Juggernaut.
That was still come on.
Come on, we had Batman and Robin in that time period. Come on.
Stop.
That was brutal.
Yeah. Oh, holy rusted metal Batman.
You're pulling inspiration from the 2000s, and now we're in 2020 where we do have amazing Marvel movies and we have great DC movies, and we have honestly, like, from talking to you about the anime's even jumped up in the past 20 years. So if those are the things you take your inspiration from, and you and your friends, where do you go from 2000 to 2020 with your guys?
There has been a lot of evolution, especially when it came to the story. Till this day, we'll reference something, and I'll be like, no, we changed that. That was an idea years ago. It was like, oh, really? Yeah, we changed it to this, and we would go back and forth and discuss it. But with everything that's been changing, our story also had to progress and change with it. One of the issues that we were, running into was a lot of comparison, especially when you're using something like the elements. There's thousands of things out there that uses the elements, so one of the biggest correlations people used to make was the avatar. Be like, hey, it looks like the Avatar, so basically it's the Avatar. And I'm like, there's no stones in the Avatar, there's no nations in my book, whatever. But hey, if you're going to compare my story to an award-winning cartoon, then by all means, I'm on it,
Yeah.
That's just the way that we started looking at it, but when it really started coming to life was when we met one of our friends, Dennis, and he was the first person to do the concept art of each character. And that's pretty much when everything really started coming to life. And then I ended up finding another artist, Brian Carnegie, who basically took Dennis' concept art and turned it into like that anime look that you see in the in the book, The Elements. He's the artist of The Elements. So when he did that, it was just like, wow, like this is exactly how I imagined it, you know. So thank Nate. You know. Oh, by the way, I want to say hi to everybody in the comments. I can't see the comments. I'm afraid to touch any buttons and X myself out. So I'm just saying hi to everybody now. You know, I can't
On the
see
right
the
side,
comments.
Jerry, private chat and comments. If you hit the comments, you can just click the comments word. It'll pull up the comments for you.
No, you should be Sam.
Okay.
Right.
What's up, everybody?
There he is. There he is.
So, you know,
Yeah,
so
it's
basically, yeah, that's when it started. Book Zero came out 2016. That is when the actual creation of Book Zero came out. And we finished the book, and it was very local. You know, I sold it to family, friends, you know, a few outside people and everything like that. And I got a very good response for it. Because if you look at issue 0, it kind of looks like it's jumping right into the middle of the story. You know, because it literally starts off saying like 6 months without any, you know, attack on the planet or anything like that and stuff. Because, you know, when we came up with the idea, we were kind of like, how about we just start this off with the idea of drawing people in? So we want to put like great action, great powers, so people can get an idea of where the story will go. You know, so when that happened, you know, we put issue 0 together and everything, and then we sold it around. We got good reviews and everything, but I kind of held back on it. Like I didn't push it as hard as I should have. And it wasn't until honestly the beginning of this year, and after evolving the story, the beginning, the origins of the brothers, evolving it over time and everything, especially watching, you know, like you said, the Avengers, you know, other things that I enjoy. Like we was definitely saying to ourselves, we need to add this somehow to the story. Because, you know, I'm a big war guy. Like I love Lord of the Rings, Troy, 300, you know, so it's a lot of things that we were throwing into them. It was just like, how can we possibly add all these favorites into something like this? And it's always like, well, that's going to be the challenge, you know? And ever since then, so I literally have, I want to say maybe 15 issues that's like just plainly written out.
Awesome.
You know?
Wow.
So it's just like, and this is where I come with the whole patience thing. Like, I'm not a patient person because, you know, now I'm kind of waiting for my artists to put these things out. And I was kind of saying to myself, maybe I should get myself 2 artists. So it's like I'm working on 2 books at the same time, you know, but then it's like, but the art is going to look different, you know, and it's just like,
yeah, that's
just relax. Yeah, you know, so because it's already going to be compared from issue 0 to issue 1 is going to be a complete different artist. Because unfortunately, I couldn't get that original artist back. So I had to find a new artist.
The good thing is you labeled it issue 0, and issue 0s are usually, like if you look at DC, Marvel, issue 0, 9 times out of 10 has a different artist because generally issue 0 is written either in the process between, like when they did the new 52 and they knew 52 was coming out, they just started working on issue 0 before the project started to give you an idea, and it's just other artists. So, you know, like I've got issue 0 coming out, and we've got Slate Comics doing it for me, thank God. And it's going to have a different feel to it. I'm more than excited for it, and I think it's going to be awesome for the fans. Also, I mean, guest artists are great, like Nate just said. And, I mean, speaking from myself personally, everyone that read issue 1 knows my art evolves as I'm drawing, you know, and I said this to Jason the other day, even his book, you know, I've seen his art evolve. So you have, you know, any art, they get a different feel as they're going through. So it's kind of cool for your fans to watch your artistic quality grow as well. You know, like with the story, it's like, my guys always reference back to One Punch Man. Sadly, I've never watched it, but apparently it started off.
I'm not a big fan.
Well, it started off as a webtoon that was garbage, and then he slowly got better. And as he got better, you know, more fans. So it was like you got to see it evolve, and then now it's this huge phenomenon. Again, I've never watched it. I tried to watch one episode, and I couldn't get into it. But I think it's kind of cool to see, other big properties that start off with mediocre art, and you get to watch them grow. So having a new artist is going to be awesome to see that new feel for your characters. An issue 1 that has a bigger impact.
I was going to say that same thing you said about issue 0s. Like issue 0s usually do have a different, artist or whatever. Like our Hellwolf book and our Conjure book, like they're technically issue 0s. I mean, I'm not doing the interiors in them. You know what I mean? We got like some really awesome. Dennis is one of them, so yeah, I think issue 0s are. It's okay that it's a different artist, Jerry. It's not a big deal. It's honestly, realistically, it's if you're doing a series like 1, 2, 3. I mean, yes, you want to keep the same artist if you can to get that flow because people love having multiple books of the same title. But if it's 2 unrelated books, like or 2 completely separate series of, but you could play with that. You know what I mean? Like I don't think. But yeah, Chris nailed it. He's like issue 0 is usually always a different artist. So
well, yeah, issue 0 is gonna disappear for me. Like after I drop my Kickstarter, there will be no more printing issue 0.
Oh, you heard that? I got one. Boom.
So yeah, like that's it. So eventually, when issue 1 starts, eventually it's going to lead to where issue 0, was.
I'm sending mine to get out, getting graded. Getting mine graded.
If you also look at the progress of stories, Marvel and DC, they'll only contract an artist, or usually an artist, for 6 to 10 books. After 6 to 10 books, you generally see a different artist. Sometimes they try to mimic the same style. But I was reading Red Hood, and Red Hood just took like a whole left turn out of nowhere on the art. It's completely different than it was in the beginning. So as long, I feel with my books especially, because I've got I have the D&D games. Each mission is kind of its own story. So I feel like if I can get someone else in there on a separate D&D story, as long as the story, the writing stays the same, and I have a similar art feel, I think I'm good. But I feel you on I feel like if I'm going to do it again, I want to keep at least Chris, my colorist, on it because at least they'll have something.
Yeah, I think that's important though. Yeah, I think you and I've talked about. Yeah, I think coloring, consistency in coloring is for a series. For a series is it's different if you have like a guest artist come in and do like a prologue, because you'll see that a lot too. You'll see prologues and epilogues in certain comics that are not the same artistic style. And that's by design, I think. And I think you'll see different coloring styles that way. But I think that's cool. Me personally, I always like seeing that. If I had a book, whether it was a Batman book, and it finishes up with an epilogue, and it's completely different artists, it's still kind of cool that, because a lot of times they'll give the epilogues or a prologue, they'll give it to an up and comer. Someone that's just cementing themselves in the industry, so they'll give them a small 1-page or even a 2-page epilogue or junior story like that, and that's cool. I think I've seen that. I have seen that.
Yeah, Haunt was pretty bad. Give me 1 second. I gotta do something real quick, and then I'm gonna ask Dennis a question. So Jason, you can talk for a second.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lord knows I could talk. But yeah, everybody in the comments, seriously, you guys are killing it in there. Thank you. I got the Aussie boys are in there, and we have Natalie Selhoff is in there, and we have it's Marie, who's Akuma Circus Monster on Instagram, but I won't try to pronounce. Hey, you're the anime guy, Jerry. What is it? It's Amanda Josh. And the thing is, like, I'm pretty fluent in Japanese, but like not fluent speaking, but fluent in Japanese style words, like how they're pronounced and stuff like that. But it always tricked me out. So thank God, not too long ago, she put her first name in a thing, and I'm like, okay, we get to use her first name because I can't pronounce that. But all right. So Chris had to step away. I guess he's pooping. So, but yeah, I think he has a question, so I can just imagine what Chris is cooking up. But Hey, if we're everybody in the comments, if we're addressing anything here, and please feel free to talk about them in the comments, and we'll get them up into the screen too. We definitely want to see that stuff. But anyway, so we're gonna do the. I definitely want to wrap this up a little bit after Chris's question. I can't wait to see what it is. He always has a good question. Let me get Jerry back in here. There we go. Jerry's back, and. I definitely want to see how you actually unwind outside of art. You know what I mean? Like, if you just want to kick back and chill, that's that. I want to wrap up our show with that question. Like, how would you, after Chris's question, of course, what do you do to unwind? So, I think we all have different takes on that, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so, Jerry, you get any of that rain last night? It came up the coast, didn't it?
Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Dennis, did you get any of that storm? You got the storm the other week, right?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was actually at work, which is kind of cool because that means no one shows up. So it's a nice quiet day.
Can you
Get
hear
a lot
me?
of shit done.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Jerry.
I completely missed what you said.
No, I was asking if you got that rainstorm from yesterday. Did it come up to your way? Yeah.
That was actually why I wasn't so active on your live, because I was driving into work in that storm.
You said that. That's right. Yeah, that was some.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that was some heavy. That was some crazy shit last night.
Like, I had no idea we were going through a storm. Like, I'm driving on the highway and my car is swaying, and I'm like, what is happening right now? And then you hear the wind blowing, and I was just running into like hurricane spots, and I was like, what happened? And then I got the alert saying, oh yeah, be careful, there's a hurricane. And I'm like, why is it so late? Like, so
Chris, while you were gone, I guess you're pooping, right? So while you were gone, I know you take pre-workout, it happens. You got to evacuate. I know.
Gotta go.
Yeah. So he probably drank a bang as well. So that's probably what happened. But we're saying that I know you get a question, and we're all on board with that. After that, we're gonna wrap it up with our how do you unwind outside of art? What do you do to unwind? So Chris, your question.
I just want to finish out with Dennis, because I know he's been working on stuff for a long time, and I personally have seen his evolution of work. Do you ever go back to some of your old drawings and the stuff that you kind of started drawing and say, hey, I could do that better, I want to redo it? Do you ever redo some of that stuff or grow it with your new style? Like, because your style has evolved. So do you ever go back to that? Yeah. I did not do that, but it's funny. I'll go with it.
So I don't typically. I only went back once. I actually went back 2 months ago. Actually, when I was sending you my old D&D drawings, I started drawing in '86. I have 7 volumes of books I drew from '86 to '88. Found them. I stopped drawing in around the end of the '90s, right into the 2000s. I stopped drawing completely. I didn't get back to it till now. But basically, I found those books. I started drawing one character, and the only reason is my first published piece of art was when I think I was 16. I sent it into the book Ninja High School. I don't know if anyone follows Ben Dunn or Ninja High School. Yeah, I sent in a fan art of one of his characters called Arnie. And out of nowhere, my fan art showed up in the back of his book. I didn't know what book it was, but this kid in my high school had the book. He showed me the art, didn't tell me what book. He showed it to me. Wouldn't tell me what book it was in. Took the book, and I never saw it again. So it took until now. I basically tracked down every Ninja High School book I could find, and I finally found it about 2 months ago.
Oh, no way.
That's awesome. So I ordered like a whole lot of Ninja High School. As soon as I got them, they were used. I started ripping through them. I literally turned to my wife and I opened the back page and I show her and I go, look at this. And she goes, what? And I go, look at the initials on it. And she goes, DRV. I go, my first piece of published work when I was like 16.
That's badass.
So I took it and I put it into my style now and I started drawing it. And this, I think, is right around before the book, the Kickstarter, I think, started really hitting off. And I started working on it, and I was just going like, look at my style from then till now, and it's, you know, obviously night and day. But yeah, that's the only time I've really gone back and drew any of my characters. I think it's funny because I look at all you guys, and I'm like, you guys had your characters from when you were kids, and like these are like your babies coming true. And I still have these 7 books of my original characters. I have OCs in there. I just don't have the mental capacity to make a story. At least I don't think I do. I was actually at work the other day, and I'm talking to one of my guys, and he's telling me, why don't you do your own book? I'm like, all your guys are doing books. And I'm like, there might be 1 or 2 in there. One day something will leak out, and maybe it'll make sense to me. But I look at all that stuff till now, and then if you look at my style now, Chris, like, what house style is that? Because when I started drawing, the house style was Image. It was all that stuff with the big stuff, and that's what I was raised on. And then you get till now, and I like a lot of the Marvel stuff is more like Stegman, more realistic stuff, more like Cassaday, like. And I don't draw that way, so I know, just like Nate said, it's like being true to your art and being true to you. And I even remember drawing and thinking to myself, like, is anyone gonna like this? Because this is kind of old. This style is old. But I mean, everyone has their own taste. So as I drew more and more, my style is still developing, and you can tell. And you know, I always say, like, you know, I don't even know my style yet, and I'm sure one day it'll be there where I can see it. But for me, it's that huge leap from 98, 99, like 2000, all the way to 2020. All those years are gone. So what is my style? And like, it's funny because I was thinking of Jason, like, what's our house style? Do we have a house style? I don't think we do. Or if, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Victor was literally vomited from the 90s if you look at him. So,
I don't even know my own style, to be honest with you. I just kind of draw what I try to. Yeah, I just try to draw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, that whole gap for me is literally like, I feel like I'm still drawing from the late 90s and just updating it to like kind of like what's now, or what I'm kind of feeling and what I'm developing and what I'm learning. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's just this huge gap, and I always kind of wonder, like, am I too imagey, or is it not the industry right now, or how does it look? And I always want to question it. I'm like, I just keep drawing, just put out content.
I was just gonna say, just keep drawing. You're gonna have your own. Like I said, we always tell you this, like, you don't think you have a style, but you just think you have a super distinctive style, and you know, so. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna develop it whether you want to or not. Well, good habits and bad habits, it's gonna be all your style. It's just how it is. Yeah. And so, you know, as for
that answers your question.
Yeah, perfect. I was just curious because, you know, everybody here has years of stuff, and I mean, I have years of artwork, but my story is my friends. Like, I don't really need like, you know, we've been writing this story I'm 37. I think Obi's 38, 39. He actually might be 40. I don't know. He's an old man. No offense, Jason. And then the rest of the guys are, you know, 33, and Austin's, I think, 26. You know, so these guys have just been writing their own story for their lives. It's easy for me to do that. I don't have a character, so I just literally use my imagination from 37 years, and I'll pull stuff from my D&D books, or I'll have an idea that had. Honestly, most of the stuff I create is things that my friends hated back in the day, like, you know, 10 years, 12 years of friendship. I know things they hate, so that's what I throw in the book as their enemies. You know, like, everything they hate winds up in the book as an enemy, or something that makes them, you know, just upset. Like, I just like to pick on them with their enemies. It makes a genuine interaction with that thing that they don't like. So, you know, I don't have what you guys have. I don't have 35 years with a character. You know, I could pull a character from when I was a kid. He's a skateboarder called the Head. Literally, that's all he did was I drew a skateboarder with a big head. And that's nice. Literally, I love Beavis and Butthead. So I made like a Butthead style head on a dude, and he skateboarded around. I think I threw most of it away, and sadly, I don't have it. I mean, I grew up inspired by Jim Lee. So, you know, that's what I try to do. But we'll wrap it up. I see Tyrion just dozing on us. So we
poor guy.
All right, hit him first.
Down on us.
All right, so let's just let's bring this home, as they say in the wrestling business. Yeah, you good? Slap yourself.
Self-mutilization.
Yeah. So T-Bone, what do you do to unwind, like outside of comics? Like, what is something you do to calm yourself down? I mean, do you just like just what do you do just to relax in general?
Well, I think when it comes to everyone, usually when it comes to a girlfriend or a wife or something, usually is the one. Like my
No,
girlfriend,
that doesn't relax you, bro. See, now you're
it
showing your
does.
age. You're totally showing your age. That's one of the.
My wife's right there.
Yeah, like my
Let
wife
me-
might be watching.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Let me
commenting on
explain
this.
to you. That is one of the stressors. That's what we told you a stressor was. Jesus, man.
He's 20.
I'm 20,
He's 16.
9
Remember?
months, not a year yet.
Nah, go ahead, buddy. All I see is a fist come from outside and punch Chris in the face.
We have desks across from each other. Her face is lit right up at me.
Oh shit, I'm crying. All right.
Great. I'm sorry.
All right, sorry, T-Bone. You keep
No
going.
problem. But usually, yeah, it's her. Sometimes, like I do call her every day because social distancing's a bitch sometimes, and yeah. Since this is what we call a COVID relationship because we started going out when it started, and lockdown came the 3 month later. So yeah, it was kind of tough for all of us, but we're meeting each other virtually. That's how it worked. Kind of relax with each other. But I really don't have an unwind button. For me, it's just what keeps me going. What relaxes me is writing. I'm always known for that. Even my parents give out to me for staying at home too much because I write. Even if it's looking at YouTube or looking at trailers, or even when my parents come out to me for doing is that they hear bouncing for some reason. And they're saying, "What the hell is that?" And that's me dancing in my room. That's how I relax. Like since I listen to music, that's how I get some ideas as well. What's that?
Yeah, he said you have a rare breed. You have a unicorn. You better hang on to it. So donate it for research.
Jesus. I'm still 20. Leave me alone. Let me have this moment.
Well, yeah. Okay, that's cool, man. No, it's good. Let me see. Let's see. Dennis, what do you do besides lift weights?
I wish. So like for an example of Jesse's project, that was 3 weeks of just nonstop working on just that one thing. So as soon as I was done and I hit send, I bought a video game, the new Spider-Man, and I've been playing that. Yeah, I've been playing that with my 10-year-old, and we go back and forth. He dies, I go die. And it's probably one of we'll always buy like one video game and we bond over it. It's like one of our bonding things. So as soon as that was like one of the big highlights of like, I know this game's coming out. I want to finish my work by then because me and him are just going to geek out. So he's been bugging me every time I'm at work, when I'm coming home or when I do get home, when can we play? And we'll go back and forth and take levels. Other than that, as soon as that book was, sent to Jesse, I wanted to do the exact opposite of what I just did. So like there was like this kind of like feel to that project I did with him. I went completely to the right and drew the most sickest extreme thing. And actually I texted you about it. Like I needed a name for the character because I want to draw something on the very opposite of what I just did for 3 weeks.
Right.
So it's almost like my unwind process of like, man, I just went cold turkey on this kind of genre or this kind of look. And now I just want to go full tilt to the right and get some of that out. Or at least get back to it and kind of, sow my oats with that. But yeah, I mean, as far as unwinding, spending time with the kid, I love to go out and me and my wife are foodies. Love to do that. Anytime we can have a date. And grab a nice taco somewhere, some nachos. So always trying to just do something like that with her. That's pretty much it. Like nothing too crazy. But just get my mind off books. And I don't know about you guys, and I know you guys do because you guys are very knowledgeable. I see so many things in the industry that bother me. Like they piss me off, whether it's just the state of comics or people talking shit or the direction of books. It just pisses the shit out of you where I just don't want to see it.
You should talk to this guy right here.
No. I know.
He gets completely wound up about that shit like all the time. So
yeah. Sometimes I just want to turn off the media, the social media, and I can't even look at some of my like normal people I follow because it just the state of what's going on just pisses the shit out of me. So I just just draw some cool shit and keep it moving. That's it.
That's all you can do. That's really cool. All right, Chris. Since I know you had some stress today, so let's hit it.
Well, yeah, you're right. 9 times out of 10, my stress relief is actually working out. I mean, I've been in the gym since I was 12 years old. I will get there. I have to. I do have to clarify before I say anything.
I have to clarify Jason's misogynistic comment.
No, I mean, I was joking, but I am blessed. My wife was my best friend for 11 years. I think I've said that 100 times. We have an amazing marriage. I tell her this all the time. The least stressful moment of my day is when we actually just sit down and we watch one of 4 shows: The Office, the Bones, the detective TV show. What else do we watch? We watch New Girl now, and what's that other one we watch? The Parks and Rec. Those are like 4 shows that we can put on at any point in time, and I just feel no stress because, we're done with the day.
Ron's my spirit animal. I love that guy.
When book 2, the Kickstarter was done and the book was done at the printer, I did take a few days I didn't touch social media. If you've noticed, since the Kickstarter's been done, I've kind of tried to distance myself a little bit because I'm going to do one of 2 things. I'm either going to get burned out on my own work, or I'm going to keep putting new stuff out and I'm going to burn people out on my ideas. So I've just kind of dialed back, and I've been, I got a couple of new reptiles I've been diving into. You see my chameleon, which we finally named. And I just
Chris would get along with my cousin Corey very well. My cousin Corey is a big reptile dude. Snakes, scorpions.
Dude, I love God. Yep. At one point in time, we had over 35 reptiles when I was growing up. I just love animals. So, my Unwind is never I don't really disconnect from much. She's the one that really gets me to disconnect. I just kind of take the creative energy, whatever I'm doing, and move on. If it's sometimes it'll be a video game, which I told Nate we got to play some Halo. I love Spider-Man. That game was freaking awesome. But I just, I can't stop, won't stop. I'll move on to another project if I don't put that energy into something.
All right, cool. Jerry, you're up.
For me, I'm also a gamer. I'm an RPG kind of guy.
There you go.
Final Fantasy, whatever. So
that's
what really gets me.
Release the next chapter.
Yeah, so I kind of, when I'm at home, I like to drink my mate tea. Like, I'm a tea guy. I drink a lot of teas. Sit back, play my video games or whatever. Same thing with my wife. Like, we watch a few shows together, and that helps relax me. But I guess one of my biggest things is going out with the guys. I call them my brothers and stuff. So we call up, we meet up, and we just hang out. We talk about what's bothering us and everything, and we give each other advice. We have fun. It's always a comical time with them, so, and especially with social media, I've definitely had taken a step back from social media because of all the negativity. Yeah. There's so much hate right now, that's going on, and it's depressing. Like, even in my line of work is very stressful to begin with. I don't need more of that. Which is actually why I'm very happy about the whole indie community, because it finally gives a different aspect of what social media could be. Or at least what it was supposed to be. So you see a lot of positivity, you see a lot of people artwork, a lot of people bonding, a lot of people helping each other out and stuff like that. Like, seeing things like that helps me unwind. After seeing so much, I'm an EMT, so I live in stress. So when you're able to see positive things on a regular basis, it's a beautiful thing. That's awesome. That's definitely the ways that I use online.
Nice.
Well, I guess that's me. You guys talked about gaming. Like, I've been wrapped up doing this comic, so I usually game with my daughter too. We either play 1 or 2 games. Like, we'll play Marvel Superheroes 2, the Legos game.
Good
Yeah,
one.
she hates. Yeah, well, that's just fun. It's open world
Yeah.
when you get to a certain point, and she gets mad at me because all I do is run around and smash shit, and just get, and just to collect all the money. And she's got like 40,000 gold coins. I have like millions because all I do. But that's all. That's literally all I do through the whole game. But yeah, we play that, and we also actually play Battlefront 2. Her and I, we always do instant action. Oh yeah, like that's a thing. Like that's a real thing that we do all the time. And yeah, the comic, I feel bad because I've been doing the comic so much. Like she's asked me all the time, when can, and I said just let that get done, and when it's done, I'm all yours. You know what I mean? And so, other than that, like you guys are talking about your why. Every single person that's tuning in right now is going to learn something about me. So, I watch show with my wife too, and okay, and I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm proud to say that I watch the Hallmark Channel, and I watch it all the time. It is on all the time.
Yeah, we love Jerry.
Yeah, I watch it all the time. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. You don't know the struggles these girls go through finding princes. Okay? All right? You have no idea. How else is a Iowa farm girl going to meet an English prince? All right? So, come on.
Tough.
Don't knock it. But, yeah, so my wife and I, we actually watch that. We had that, and we like paranormal shows. We watch a lot of that stuff, too. So, total...
That's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
Supernatural's ending.
Yeah.
He's going to the world, so I'm happy about that.
Other than that, for me, it's I like a good cigar. If anybody can't tell, so I do enjoy my cigar hobby. And alcohol, but other than that, I guess just do some. I mean, I do martial arts, and so does Jerry. I know Jerry does as well. So.
Me too.
Yeah, and Jerry, so that's a really good stress reliever for sure.
I guess me and Dennis are the only ones that work out, like for us.
I used to.
Really quick, I used to work out all the time until COVID, and then my gym just gave up on me. So I used to. COVID
Martial arts is a workout.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Thank you. Chris is a wrestler. Chris is actually a championship wrestler. Chris is a state champion, so he knows all about it.
All
so.
Right. Chris, what was your weight class?
And Dennis, what, $112? What was your weight class?
Yeah, what was your weight class?
125.
Dude, same in high school.
And Dennis,
I won states with a cast on my leg. I had hyperextended my right leg 7 matches in. The kid stepped on my foot while I was pivoting, and the doctor told me I couldn't wrestle anymore. And I said, "Screw it." Fought with my coach, fought with my mom, went through it. 4 years later, I could walk right, but it was worth it.
Wow.
Yeah. As long as that momentary glory can give you lifelong pain, it's worth it. Coming from me, I can tell you that is absolutely worth it.
My leg still hurts. I was also I used to ride semi-pro BMX back home, and I had to give that up because of it. I had to give up a lot of things. That's actually one of the reasons I got serious about music. But I won't ever take that away because, man, like my wife says all the time, I'm the most determined person she knows because I wouldn't take that loss because of an injury. I just, I still deal with it, but heck, it's.
Well, I think that's to be said about any true competitor. Like, if you get a real competitor's spirit, like you're not gonna settle for any of that stuff, man.
Well, it gets into my comics, man. Like I want to put my best out there every single time I pick up that pen, and I know everybody in this group does the same thing every time they get into it, and it's part of that mentality, that competitive mentality of I want to be the best, I want to do the best, I want to give it my all.
All right. Well, that's
the moment exactly.
Sounds like Pokemon theme song. I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Before we get off here, Jay, when we can actually group and do this.
Yeah. Oh my God. Really quick, Dennis is a big Spartan race guy, right, Dennis?
Yeah, I got a couple of trifectas, so that's my little bit of glory is a couple of trifectas. So good stuff.
Badass.
Yeah.
But Tiernan, you're still with us, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's it like? 6 a.m. over there now? So.
Let me just double check for you there now. Okay.
Okay.
More like
All right.
It's 3 a.m.
We gotta get this kid in bed.
Yep.
Seriously, hey man, this was fun. I really seriously. Jerry, thanks for joining us. T-Bone, thanks for joining us your second try. And Jerry, you're always welcome. Anytime you want to stop in, you got a Monday off, and we're doing this. Let us know. So we'd love to have you. We really enjoyed having you.
God, definitely.
But
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, we've been having a blast. I just think it was just talking about. Oh, the comments are going. Yeah, awesome. Let me thank everybody in the comments as well. Yeah, I hope people just kind of learned something about us. You learned I watch Hallmark, so there's that. So you got that now. Yeah, I will literally fight people. Like Hallmark is a thing. Like don't even, man.
Your pumpkin lattes over there.
Yeah, that's right. I drink those too. I'm so basic white girl, it's not even funny. So, all right.
Can you imagine seeing Jason with the beer and the cigar and then Hallmark on the TV screen? It's like, wait a minute.
And I'm drinking a pumpkin spice and I'm wearing Ugg boots. That's right.
Oh, God. Sorry.
All right, guys. Seriously, this has been fantastic. Thanks, guys, for coming. I'm going to end up ending the broadcast. That'll put us back into the backstage, if you will. But everyone in the comments, seriously, thank you very much for joining us. Everybody's being great. I hope you just got some chuckles. And if you learned something, it's great. But if you just thought us to be stupid, that's even better. But we appreciate you hanging out with us, as always. You care enough to spend almost 2 hours with us. That's pretty important. So we appreciate all of you.
Yes, thank you.
And all right, guys, I'll see you later.
Have a good night, guys.